So what are we left with? A certain theory on Nagel's part of the conditions under which we can say that something bad has happened to someone, and the argument that a person does not necessarily have to be aware of or suffer because of something in order to say that something bad has truly happened to him. Well, I mean, if that were true, it would certainly make his argument and would prove that there is something wrong with the Epicurean view of death, at least insofar as Epicurus says that death is neither good nor bad for us. I don't know. You have to think about it. There's no clear answer here. Nagel has made a really, a very good argument, I think, that at least in some cases we're strongly disposed to say that even if someone in certain cases is unaware of a loss, that does not necessarily mean that nothing bad has happened to them. And that what we need to do in many cases is to take into account the person's history, especially when we're talking about loss, deterioration, deprivation. I don't know. We experience these things all the time. Say that you get old, say you get really good at a certain skill, playing chess or doing mathematics or painting a picture, and you get old, you get older. So you get very old and your skills in that thing deteriorate. So that you can still do it pretty well, but you can't do it nearly as well as you used to. Did something bad happen to you when your skills deteriorated? Well, that's a good question. Let's just say that your ability to play chess is half of what it used to be, but it's still, better than most people could possibly do. That would mean that, would that mean that they're experiencing misfortune because they're at your level? Well, they may be very happy with their level playing chess. But the difference is that they have different histories, than you do. If you were like a chess grandmaster and you've been reduced to a middling player, that may be a good case for saying something bad has happened to you. Whereas someone who's worked very hard to get to the level of being a middling player, we wouldn't say that something bad has happened to them. So it's an interesting idea on Nagel's part. And the key idea or the key part here is that you have to take into account context, personal history, and somebody's trajectory in their life. The basic idea is that death is bad because it leaves unrealized certain possibilities that we have for experiencing goods. If you die, we say that the goods of life are taken away, but not the goods of yesterday or the goods of your childhood. They can't be taken away. They're in the past. Death takes away future goods, possible goods, unrealized goods. So death is only bad for that. If death is only bad for that reason, it's bad because it prevents you from experiencing possible goods that you otherwise would have experienced, but now will not because you have died. So it really depends upon your future. And it opens up kind of some difficulties here, right? Just leave you with some things. Say that a person goes through life, lives a very long life, and expires peacefully at the age of 99. Did something bad happen to that person? Well, he kind of deals with this at the end, talking about Keats, the great poet Keats, dying at 25, as opposed to Tolstoy, the great novelist, dying at 82. If what makes death bad is unrealized goods, does that mean that Keats's death at 24 was worse than Tolstoy's death at 82? Well, normally I think we would say yes. That is that Keats's death was more tragic, was worse, was more of an evil because more of life's goods were taken away from him, than Tolstoy's at 82. I think that's kind of a common sense thing. But again, say that you die when you're 99 and you die peacefully after a life filled with goods, and then the day after you die, they come up with a cure for aging and death. I don't know. That would mean if you had lived a couple month longer, you would have, or a day longer, you would have had a much more goods in life. But it would seem silly to say that, but it's one of the, kind of it is a silly hypothetical or possibility, but it is, after all, a possibility. So certain things become a little troublesome in terms of, thinking about that. It would mean that every unrealized possibility constitutes a loss and an injury or bad thing of some sort. Every turn we make in our lives means that there are certain things that we have given up in terms of realized possibilities. So it can sort of get out of hand if you're following along with the way he's thinking. But in any case, an interesting rejoinder to Epicurus. I don't think he really mentions Epicurus here. He mentions Lucretius, who was a kind of a follower of Epicurus with regard to the so-called asymmetry problem, which I choose not to go into here because I think it's kind of an afterthought in the essay. It's a related question, but it's not essentially related to the main question, which is whether or not somebody has to be aware of a loss or misfortune of any sort in order for it to be a misfortune. And Nagel is definitely arguing against